Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving deep into 5 pivotal issues reshaping African American life in July 2025. Picture this: sweeping Medicaid cuts, a nationwide retreat from DEI, a historic school enrollment crisis, high-profile boycotts, and a cultural showdown over Juneteenth versus July 4th. Each of these isn't just a news headline, they're seismic events with ripple effects. Now you might be thinking, how are these issues connected? That's exactly what we'll unpack using frameworks like SWOT, MOST, and PESTEL to cut through the noise and reveal what's really at stake. So let's get started because understanding means power. Let's start where the tremors began. Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill signed in January 2025. This legislation slashed Medicaid by $1 trillion and gutted DEI diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives nationwide. Imagine being one of the 12 million Americans, mostly black and brown, suddenly without coverage. That's not just a budget line, it's a seismic shift in public health. Now, think about DEI wants, the firewall against systemic bias in hiring and education, now branded as divisive and stripped from institutions. The immediate result? Hospital closures, surging mental health crises, and a spike in racial inequity. But here's the twist. These policy moves have also galvanized legal challenges and sparked a wave of grassroots organizing. Will the courts or the streets decide the future of equity in America? Next, let's turn to Houston. Over the past decade, Houston ISD has lost 30 students, with black families leaving in droves. Why? A mix of school closures, academic underperformance, and eroding trust. Enrollment isn't just a number, it's the lifeblood of public education funding. When numbers drop, so does investment, and achievement gaps widen. Magnet programs and curriculum reforms have been floated as solutions. But is that enough to rebuild trust and reverse the exodus? Imagine a parent weighing whether to send their child to a neighborhood school or uproot the family entirely. The conflict here is both emotional and structural. The resolution? It's going to take equity-centered, redesigned by the community, not just bureaucrats. From March to June, black churches spearheaded boycotts against Target and McDonald's to protest DEI rollbacks. Now, you might wonder, can a boycott really make a difference in a $200 billion company? History suggests yes. Economic pressure campaigns, like the Montgomery bus boycott, have shifted corporate policy before. In this case, the media spotlight amplified the movement's demands for genuine diversity and supplier inclusion. But there's a catch. Corporations are responding with performative allyship public statements, but little structural change. So, is this just another PR cycle, or the start of a new era of corporate accountability? The jury's out, but one thing's clear: grassroots mobilization is back in the driver's seat. This June 19th, Juneteenth celebrations ignited a nationwide debate. What does freedom really mean in America? Some see Juneteenth as a corrective to July 4th's incomplete promise. Others argue that pitting the holidays against each other deepens polarization. Let me tell you a story. At a Houston rally, a young activist carried both flags, Juneteenth and American. Her message? Dual legacies deserve dual recognition. But the conflict runs deeper. Misinformation and political weaponization are sowing confusion. The resolution may lie in educational reform, teaching the full, complicated story of American freedom. Can we move from symbolic gestures to genuine civic unity? That's the challenge and the opportunity. July's surveys tell a stark story. Black women voters are at a crossroads. Record high dissatisfaction with both parties, surging economic anxiety, and a reported 45% decline in mental health. Yet, black women remain America's most reliable voting, block mobilizing, organizing, and turning out when it counts. The conflict is clear: high engagement, but low faith in institutions. Is my vote actually making a difference? Many ask. Community organizers are pivoting, addressing not just political issues, but economic stress and wellness. The path forward? Structural investment in care, education, and safety nets. Only then can we turn civic fatigue into renewed power. Let's get technical for a moment. Using SWOT strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, we see that every crisis carries seeds of opportunity. For Medicaid and DEI, the threats are obvious: loss of coverage, equity setbacks. But the strengths? Heightened visibility of racial disparities and a surge in legal challenges. Most mission, objectives, strategy, tactics lets us map how Black women voters are shifting from protest to policy, or how boycotts turn grassroots momentum into economic leverage. Imagine a chessboard. Each move is tactical, but the vision is strategic. Are we playing short-term defense or a long game for justice? Digging deeper, spear strategy, policy, execution, assessment, reform shows us how top-down decisions, like Trump's Medicaid cuts, create cascading effects for Black communities. Meanwhile, sharp stakeholders, hurdles, actions, results, prognosis reveals the real-world impact, from hospital closures to mental health crises. But here's the turning point. Stakeholders like faith leaders, parents, and activists are taking action: boycotts, protests, community redesign. The results? Mixed, but the prognosis calls for urgent, equity-driven reform. So, what role do you play as a voter, consumer, or advocate? The answer could shape the future. Now, let's zoom out with PESTEL: political, economic, social, technological, environmental, and legal analysis. Politically, we're seeing federal rollbacks and Supreme Court rulings that criminalize homelessness, hitting Black communities hardest. Economically, inflation and job insecurity compound the pain. Socially, movements like the McDonald's boycott signal new forms of resistance. Legally, court battles over DEI and Medicaid are heating up. Here's the kicker. These forces aren't acting in isolation. They're intersecting, compounding, and creating feedback loops. If we're to solve these crises, we'll need holistic, cross-sector solutions, not siloed fixes. So after all this analysis, what's next? The strategic implications are profound. First, the rollback of DEI and Medicaid isn't just a policy debate, it's a test of America's commitment to equity. School crises and boycotts reveal the power and limits of grassroots mobilization. The Juneteenth, July 4th debate shows how history can unite or divide. And the voice of Black women voters? It's the canary in the coal mine, warning us that economic and mental health crises are political crises too. As we wrap up, ask yourself, will we meet this moment with bold solutions, or let the cycle repeat? The choice isn't abstract, it's urgent, and it starts with all of us.